Hi everyone, welcome back to our fourth E3 Thoughts video, this time on the Ubisoft conference. Now I need to warn you guys, the next few conferences are probably going to go pretty quickly. The main reason being I did enjoy some of the products and games that were announced at the three following conferences. However, in terms of what I'm really interested in, these next few conferences probably have the least amount of stuff for me. They were some pretty packed conferences, especially the Square one, but for me personally, there weren't too many big highlights. So I will be kind of just touching and addressing things and kind of passing over them if I'm not really super jazzed about them myself. But on that note, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll go from there. So the Ubisoft conference started with Watch Dogs Legion. Now this is one of the games I actually wanted to talk about in the Ubisoft conference. I was not a Watch Dogs 2 fan. I kind of enjoyed 1, but when 2 came out, although the mechanics were pretty good and the gameplay itself was pretty darn okay, I have to say that the aesthetic and the style of Watch Dogs 2 was completely out of my league, we'll say. It was very much angled towards the kids, very memey, very in your face, lots of lingo, lots of cool talk. It was clearly not angled towards older adults. And also one of the things that was a very big schism was that Watch Dogs 1, where it was more kind of like a dystopian muted encounter, Watch Dogs 2 was essentially on the opposite end of the spectrum. It was the big in your face, flashy, guy with emoticons on his face. It was about as diametrically opposite as you can get in terms of overall volume of the game. So on that note, when I heard they were making a new Watch Dogs, I was not super hyped. I was not super thrilled. I said, okay, they're probably going to go deeper down that rabbit hole, and we'll see what happens. However, I was very pleasantly surprised that apparently Watch Dogs Legion is doing not only a lot of very interesting things, but is in a nice seemingly middle ground between Watch Dogs 1 and 2. Gone are the over-the-top kind of obnoxiously in-your-face characters, and it looks like we are now going a little bit more towards realism, a little bit more towards kind of realistic impersonations instead of kind of these like over-the-top caricatures of actual people. And I really like that. On top of that, Watch Dogs Legion is doing some very interesting things in terms of this new system they have that involves permadeath, where essentially you can play and kind of capture different people around the world that have like different specialty stats, and then you can use them as components in your main story. Now, I don't know exactly how they're going to be doing it. They made a lot of very lofty promises during the conference, especially considering how relatively high quality the voice acting and story cinematics looked. But I'm very interested in hearing more about this. I'm looking forward to Watch Dogs Legions, and where I truly thought I was going to be done with the Watch Dogs franchise after 2, I can pleasantly say that I am definitely interested in Watch Dogs 3, and I am very much looking forward to where this game goes. So you will see Legion on the channel. I am anxiously anticipating it, and I'm very interested not only in the game itself, but also to see where all these mechanics are going, and to see kind of honestly how they're going to pull off some of these promises they made. We will have to see where it goes. So that's Watch Dogs Legion. Looking forward to it. Definitely looks cool. Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet. Okay, this is the television show that they did here. And what's kind of weird about this is I like It's Always Sunny. I feel that it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a television show where one of the main characters is basically making Mythic Quest. I kind of like that, and I feel like that cast and crew is really in their element. But as many professional game designers were talking about on Twitter after this announcement, it's pretty clear this guy has no idea what game designers are and what it's about. And he had this idea of what they are in his head and then decided to take that idea and run with it, which is the whole premise of Mythic Quest. There are a few game designers that are sort of kind of like this guy is in the show, but at the end of the day, not many. So I think it's going to be probably a pretty funny show just to watch because of the people involved in the show. But I got to say that it looks like somebody making a show about games that has absolutely no idea about games, to put it bluntly. Now, again, I think it's going to be a funny show regardless. But I got to say it was interesting to see it in this conference. And you know what? Good luck to them. I hope it does well. I like those guys, so I hope it's good, and best of luck to them. I know I'll probably check it out and see how it is. So, Rainbow Six Siege, there was a lot of stuff on Rainbow Six Siege in this. primarily because it's one of the games that is kind of still moving Ubi along. Yeah, I know. Oh, also, quick note about the last thing. Apparently, it's like on Apple TV. I don't use Apple TV. I don't know how many people do, but I guess enough to, you know, be releasing a show on it. But Apple TV, go get it. It's still a thing, I guess. But yeah, Rainbow Six Siege, very similar to For Honor. This is a franchise that Ubisoft are just kind of carrying along, and more to their, you know, to their credit, it's pretty awesome that they are, because both For Honor and Rainbow Six Siege have pretty big communities of people that still play it. So I don't have a lot to say on it because there wasn't a huge amount of new stuff, but yeah, Rainbow Six Siege, and I think maybe For Honor, as we'll see later in here, both still trucking. Not a lot to say about them, and I do like how Ubisoft is very much kind of still catering to that community. That's pretty great. That's pretty great. Next up, we have Adventure Time Brawlhalla. Oh, this was just a couple new characters for Brawlhalla. Not a game I really play. So if you play Brawlhalla, I'm a big fan of Adventure Time. I've seen like every episode. I love it. Making bacon pancakes. But yeah, not a big Brawlhalla fan. So not too much about that. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I feel kind of bad for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And let me tell you why. I feel like there's a lot of good stuff that they're doing. The gameplay looks okay. The graphics look pretty good. They brought in the Punisher, bro. But the thing is I just feel like the hype isn't there. It's kind of weird. It's like the dish has all the ingredients that you like, but for some reason in that combination, it's just not quite as good as it normally is. It's like if you love pizza and you have some kind of dish with like bread, tomato sauce, and cheese, but it's not pizza, and you're just like, man, I wish this was pizza. That's kind of how I feel about Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's like, it looks cool whenever I see it, but there's just nothing about it that's making me go, I need to play that game. I kind of feel the same way about Wildlands as I did this one. It feels like it should all be there, but it's not quite. Also, I gotta feel a little bit bad for the Ghost Recon guy, because he was kind of like the big kind of reveal, you know, like people knew he was in it, but it was great to see him on stage, and he brought a dog on, and it was super cool. And all everyone could think of is, I wish that was Keanu. He kind of stole the show in terms of like specialty actors. So I felt kind of bad because it is kind of a big deal that he's involved in this project. It's kind of great. But at the same time, I think like most people were just kind of like, oh, another star that's not quite Keanu Reeves. And I feel like that was definitely something that was kind of going on a little bit during it. To his credit, looked like he was good. Although I will say, for some weird reason, they picked this cinematic to show off the game, and the actors lip syncing just didn't seem to line up. It was bothering me the whole time, and I'm like, dude, this is E3. It's Ubisoft. Like, this is one of your flagship products. Super strange that was like so not complete. Very odd, and that definitely was kind of like, if this is how what they're showing is, I'm kind of concerned about the quality of like the final product. Then again, maybe they rushed it for the show, you know, we don't know. There could be many reasons why it was like that, but I will say definitely a little bit weird, as Ubisoft is generally pretty good in terms of the presentation for this kind of stuff, but yeah, we'll see. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad clearly left a large impact on me. Oh, it's the mobile game. Just Dance. For Honor, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I have to admit that I do dig that Ubisoft is really sticking with For Honor. You know, For Honor had a very, very rough start. It didn't have private servers. There were micro lag issues, which is why I eventually left the game. They could have easily anthemed For Honor. They could have strung us along, promising content, and then eventually just kind of quietly dropped it in the background, and maybe we would have never heard of it again. They very easily could have done that with For Honor, but they didn't. They stuck with it. They fixed the bugs. They put in private servers. They made tons of changes, and they keep adding more and more characters to it. I mean, it's one of those things where I don't play For Honor, but I do have a big respect for companies that really stick with games until the vision is realized. And I feel that that's what they did with For Honor, and I feel that's one of the reasons that people still play this game. Although I will say there were certainly some rocky things along the road. I feel like a lot more people could be playing this game, but they're still sticking with it. So, you know what? Who knows? There's actually potentially still more future coming for Honor. And again, even though I don't play it, I support this kind of behavior, and good luck, Ubisoft, continuing that into the future. Rainbow Six Quarantine. Now, this game actually had me have an audible, like, oh, come on. And that's because when this started, I thought we were getting a new, like, single-player adventure IP. Basically, this guy is trapped in this underground, like, server room-looking place. There's this crazy virus creeping up his arm. You know, like, all this stuff is going down, all these crazy sounds. You have no clue what's happening. And then at the end, the Rainbow Six Siege thing pops up. And see, I thought this was going to be, like, some new IP, some new kind of big thing. Unfortunately, it looks to be a PvE Rainbow Six like mini game side project plugin kind of deal. Now, I later learned that the whole reason this exists is because of the players. What I realized is all of the things that I was thinking this was, it was never going to be, because what essentially happened is they put in this kind of like free expansion / DLC thing into Siege, and so many people loved it that they said, please make us a better standalone version of this. And that's what Rainbow Six Quarantine is. So this is essentially like a product for the fans. So even though, again, it's not really going to be my thing, you know, if I wanted to play Rainbow Six, I'd probably just play Rainbow Six, the multiplayer version, because that's really good and a lot of fun. I think a lot of people are going to be really happy about this, because, again, the whole reason this is even in production is because people wanted it. So, yeah, maybe we'll check it out when it comes out. If enough people are interested in it, maybe some people in the community want to see it, we'll see. But again, not super hyped for it. I wasn't really part of the first, I think it was called Outbreak. I didn't do any of that. So, yeah, it could be cool to look into. And again, I do like, though, when devs listen to their player base and, more importantly, develop something out of what they like. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I tend to like Ubisoft's behavior a lot more than their products at the end of the day. Weird. It's more Division. Division 2 is to Division 1 as Borderlands 3 is to Borderlands 2. It's taking what works and it's putting more in it. I don't have a lot to say about it as I'm not a player, but it's Division fans are thrilled. I've heard nothing but good things from people that like it. I've heard the raids are kind of cool that are coming in and stuff. So I don't know. I hope you Division 2 fans are having fun. Looks like they're still pushing it. So hell yeah. UPLAY Plus, this is their, from what I understand, this is kind of like their origin access. This is their, you give us more money and we'll give you a bunch of stuff you probably wouldn't have bought anyway. Although I think there is some relatively money saving / good stuff going on with this one. It's just their version of something we've seen from most companies. So yeah, look into it a little bit more if you use a lot of things off UPLAY though. But I think for most people it'll be a pass. Yeah. Roller Champions. It's like sort of Rocket League with people. This was kind of a weird one. I've seen a little bit of gameplay, and the cinematic things they showed made it look pretty cool. The gameplay is definitely less action-packed than what we saw, but it looks like it could be fun. Definitely looks like it could use a little bit of patching, a little bit more optimization. Definitely in the few streams I watched of it, you know, a couple people were crashing, a couple people were having issues with animations not connecting properly. It's an early product, and I think that it will be interesting to see where it goes and develops. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Rocket League's amazing, and there's really nothing out there like Rocket League. So the more kind of fun things that we can do to explore that obviously very cool type of gameplay, the better. And Roller Champions is one of the first games by a big company that we're seeing that does that. So, oh, it was a pre-alpha demo. Okay, so that's what it is. Cool. So it's not even an alpha, apparently. Maybe they're still like really working on it. That makes sense. Even again, it is important to mention though, even though there were those little issues with it, it did look like people were enjoying it. One of the streamers that I watched had been playing for like 4 hours. So, I mean, obviously there's something there. We'll keep our eyes on it as it develops. Maybe try it out at some point. But yeah, cool little interpretation of the Rocket League loop, I'd say. Gods and Monsters. Gods and Monsters. I don't know what this was, man. It was a very, very short trailer. Just showed a little bit of a world, showed a guy boop a big bird thing on the head. I mean, it looked like it could be cool, but again, I mean, there was so little of it. It looked kind of like a Greek mythology oriented Zelda game. Maybe? I don't know. We're going to wait until we get more information on this. Could be fun. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Someone in chat says, I don't remember this game. It was super short. They barely even talked about it. And then there was just like this quick little, like, here's the world, here's a character, here's him hitting a bird. And then that was like it. That's all they talked about it. So we really haven't, it was a teaser, if anything else. Ubisoft overall thoughts. So surprisingly, this actually didn't take very long. Ubisoft general thoughts were, honestly, not a lot. There wasn't a lot going on at the Ubisoft conference for me. I felt like most of the content was centered around products that were already released or we already knew about. The Watch Dogs Legion stuff was probably the highlight of the show for me. It really just felt very light on substance. The presentation was pretty good though. But yeah, I mean, there just wasn't a lot going on in the Ubisoft conference for me. I went in relatively excited because I was hoping maybe we'd see some new IPs. Maybe there'd be some fun stuff on some of the games we're expecting. Maybe a surprise or two. But there really wasn't almost any of that. The biggest surprise being Granny Squad in Watch Dogs Legions, which was amazing. Yeah, Watch Dogs Legions for me was so far and beyond more interesting than anything else at the conference. So, yeah. Hopefully next year we're going to see a little bit more, maybe some Skull and Bones, maybe Beyond Good and Evil 2. I feel this was kind of like a dead year for Ubisoft in a lot of ways because, you know, they're fundamentally supporting 2 games that are already out and established. 3 games, if you count Division 2. And there just wasn't a lot, you know, Ghost Recon's was just a continuation of Wildlands in a lot of ways with some changes. So, yeah, just a lot of kind of like more and not a lot of like new or interesting. And it was also kind of more of a down for me personally because all the stuff they really featured are none of the games I really am actively playing. So I think I would feel a lot different if, you know, I was still playing Division 2, if I was hyped for Ghost Recon, if I played Rainbow Six every so often and For Honor. Like, I feel like for those people, maybe this conference meant a lot more. But for me, who has played or tried most of those games and decided they're not really for me or I'm just not into them anymore right now, just not a lot. Just not a lot. So, yeah. Hopefully next year we'll see a little bit more variety for people that may not already be established Ubisoft fans. And we can go from there. So anyway, that wraps up our 4th video for Ubisoft. I really appreciate it. So far we've done Microsoft, Bethesda, PC games, and now Ubisoft. We'll be doing Square Enix, followed by Nintendo next, both which should be similar in length to this one. And I want to thank you again for joining us. Make sure to stop by our channel, twitch.tv/CohhCarnage. And as always, appreciate your time. See you guys in a minute.